that would allow us to return to the Council. But unfortunately, we have not seen any change. The decision of ours to leave the Human Rights Council resulted from the ongoing and unrelenting institutional bias against Israel in the Human Rights Council, which has been persistent in 2006 and has intensified since October 7, 2023. The mechanisms established by the Human Rights Council demonstrate how the Council has been driven off the rails when it comes to singling out of my country, of the State of Israel. When it comes to Israel, there is no impartiality, no objectivity, no rules of conduct, no neutrality. That is why for the last year there is an active group of Friends of so-called Palestine within the UN employees. The inherent bias and hypocrisy of the Human Rights Council has been further illuminated with these last 2 months as it demonstrates its incompetence in the face of the slaughter of Iranians by the Islamic regime. The human rights bodies have betrayed the people of...
Sorry. My goodness.
So,
the benefits of live TV, right?
Yeah.
My apologies for that. But let's have a... Yeah.
I was thinking about this Human Rights Council and who heads it. We were speaking of the fundamentalists in Iran.
Yes.
Do you know, they are in charge. Currently, they are actually in charge. And when you look at their setup, remember the fundamentalists that are actually there in Iraq, they were set up to destroy Israel. In fact, one of their key tenets, when you look at what they would want to do, is not to govern Iran well, is to destroy the Jews and take over Jerusalem. So there is
actually true.
Yeah.
I mean, why I interjected there is, unless people understand this fundamental view that was in place even before the State of Israel was formed in 1948, you would not understand...
Formed by who? The Rothschild?
No, I'm saying this fundamental view of the Islamists.
The Islamists that are in Iran.
They believe that their one guy would not come, and if he comes, it's the Jews he's coming. This is why Israel has every right to be paranoid about every vehicle, missile that moves in
against them,
in Iran. Because of that, I'm saying these things were not written in the 19th century, in the 18th century, when the State of Israel didn't even exist. So, for all you see in the media, what he said, if you don't understand it, you think Israel is doing too much, or you think they're overreacting, it's because it's rooted in that fundamental belief.
So think about those fundamentalists. They are now heading the United Nations. They are responsible. Remember, this is a nation that has got Islamist fundamentalists that stone their women for just not wearing the burqa.
Israel was not founded by who?
The current State of Israel was put together, was incepted in, I've forgotten the date, but 1948. The first, in Jerusalem. Yeah. But I'm saying the kingdom, the history of it has been for thousands of generations.
Okay.
So you're looking at this, Elam, right? The Iranians?
The Persians. They have the Elam, they have the descendants of the Sassanid empires, but it's a very rich,
and I think
rich in history.
You're looking at all those different groupings. They have always been against Israel. And now they are using the supposed bodies that have got transnational power, supranational power to actually effect what they want to actually effect. If you look at the Human Rights Council and what they've actually done, remember, there are some bodies that are there within the United Nations that have become purely globalist to the core. It's like a UNICEF, UNRWA, same thing with the Human Rights Council from the United Nations. And every other nation that is smart, they have a right to actually reject and come out of it. Because they don't actually serve the fundamental functions that they are supposed to actually serve. When they were set by the United Nations, they have been subverted. So you're looking at a Human Rights Council that is not actually doing that. All they're just doing is they're using it against Israel, or one times too many, which is why you find out the Israelis who always go to the United Nations to try and defend themselves.
Yeah.
This one, they've said, no, we are
But-
not going, we are not part of it, and we are not coming
Would
back.
you blame them? Would you blame them? Because if you see what happened from October the 7th, let's have an honest conversation here. I feel like the October 7 disaster was not spoken enough in the United Nations.
Yeah.
What we heard more was that Israel is a murderer. They're committing a genocide. And then it just grew from there. It was genocide, evil Israel and all that. So I don't think that whole October 7th was clearly actually dealt with on a fair basis. I don't think so, because I would have expected the United Nations to say, okay, fine, we have this side and we have this side. How do we control both sides? Or how do we reach a consensus? It was too one-side leaning. And then that's why Israel also got angry. You're not speaking about the people that died in Israel. You're not even speaking about the attack on its own. It might not be the first, but it happened on the 7th of October, which then obviously escalated into other things that followed.
Those
We are not
agendas
talking about Hamas using human shields.
Yeah.
We are not even talking about Hamas killing its own people after the ceasefire.
Yeah.
But there were videos that showed that Hamas was killing its own citizens. Why are we not having that conversation?
And now the Ayatollahs are the ones that are presiding over the Human Rights Council.
Does that sound fair to you?
And you know, the Ayatollahs, look at it, remember the Human Rights Council is supposed to preside over issues that have got to do with LGBTQI. They don't even have that in their own nation. I don't think you will see the next day, if you pronounce yourself, you are part of that rainbow nation in Iran as of today. So you're looking at conflict of interest that is glaring. It's actually out there in the open.
Okay, based on that, I'm just going to extend this conversation a little bit. Based on your definition, which nation should preside over human rights?
No. In that sense, if you're looking at human rights, whatever you define by whatever standards that you have defined, right? Like, for example, you are getting to the United Nations. Well, the Jews, they might actually have that because they still have people that are practicing whatever that is in terms of the rainbow nation, right? And they live to see the next day.
What I'm trying to say is, I'm trying to use this, no nation is perfect, based on their own record.
Sure.
Like, if we take South Africa and judge the action of the South African government against the own South African tenants, they'll fall short.
Okay.
If you take Nigeria and you judge what the Nigerian government is doing against what they said, at least during campaign, they'll fall short. The same every nation.
No,
about a few. Some nations are just so golden.
If you look at...
But the point there is, human rights, United Nations Human Rights, UNHRC, was set up by a vote. And usually when it is majority election, once it's a majority, once tenants are drawn by majority, minorities are oppressed. Because what is right becomes defined by the majority.
Yeah.
So the Muslim nations knew that, you know what, give and take, before we even sneeze, we've got 50 votes.
Okay.
Because of the Islamic
So
countries.
they just tell everybody from OIC, please vote this way. So give or take. So they now feign righteousness in these councils, and that in itself corrupts the council. Are you getting what I'm trying? It corrupts the council because if justice is by vote, then who's going to help Israel where most of the time she's going to get less than 5% of, every time get less than 5% of the vote. So she becomes the evil one because she just doesn't have the numbers.
Yeah.
So once you say justice is by vote, and this is why I haven't heard a guy, a sheikh in UK, and you might have seen it, saying one day Sharia will be in the UK.
Yeah.
Oh,
Why
no,
did they say that? Because they believe they can get the numbers. Once justice is by vote, and that is the reason the founders of the United States said, no, let's not do majority democracy. Let's do a representative democracy, which is called a republic.
Yes, the Republic.
Because if the majority gets to say what is right, you know, what is right is right. It doesn't matter whether you have might to defend it. It doesn't matter whether you don't have the vote. It doesn't matter. Truth, one of the basic characters of truth is ability to stand alone. When everybody, and you can see that in the UNHRC. Everybody will lie because because it's in their Islamic OIC interest to vote a certain way. Nigeria comes there, votes a certain way because Nigeria is a member of there, and all these nations just vote a certain way. Israel is on the side. What you going to just leave? You're not welcome in that house. Just leave. So they didn't lose anything living.
Yeah, of course. I was even actually looking at the fact that, you know, they have tenants that are supposed to underpin what are known as human rights.
Yeah.
If you're going against that, then something is definitely wrong, because intrinsically, by reason of function, you're not functioning the way you're supposed to function. And that's how these kind of organizations have actually gotten to. So if they are not pushing LGBTQ rights and the like, because that's mainly one of the biggest rights that is actually there.
No, but
within
that
the-
just came in less than 10 years ago.
Yeah, even
So
the
how will intersectionality come in 10 years ago and become the
prevailing-
biggest
yeah,
prevailing
the
human rights
prevailing human
issue?
right.
You can, like, this is what I'm saying. These things they call what is right, morphs. Like today it's right, tomorrow it's not right.
political.
Like
Yeah.
20 years ago, everybody was talking about the Palestinian cause, the Palestinian cause. Today is LGBT, and within the Palestinian in Gaza 2009, after the 2006.